So how many of us have seen art? We've seen it in the streets, we've seen it in galleries, we've seen it everywhere, right? Most of us just pass on by, just like, oh, okay, there's just like a little graffiti art, you know, see a big billboard, just see a big picture. But sometimes we just don't ask what's actually truly behind that picture, or what does it mean? It's like the saying goes, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Today, I wanted to illustrate to you how art, and particularly pop art, has influenced our popular culture these days. Lately, I've been really interested in art. I said since the first day, I have a passion for art, but I'm majoring in accounting. How does that work? I don't know. But through the classes, I've learned about past art, present art, and what future art holds for us. And reality is, we just don't know what it can be. Art is art. Art is anything that you can really just get away with. Today I wanted to find what pop art is, what pop culture is, and I want to use that using the works of Andy Warhol and Shepard Fairey, which I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of. And I just want to show how this actually relates to us, because like I said, art is around us, and we just can't avoid it. So pop culture. Free Dictionary, because you know everything's better when it's free, says that pop culture is a commercial culture based on popular taste. So right now, pop culture is basically music, it is art, it is how we do our hair, what kind of clothes we wear. It's just the theme. That's what basically it is. According to the Museum of Modern Art, pop art is art based on modern popular culture and the mass media as a critical or ironic comment on traditional fine art values. So basically it's what it's saying, it is art, contemporary art, but it is manipulated to actually stand out a little bit differently. What I want to start off with, an artist who we all know as Shepard Fairey. Most of us know him as the creator of Obey, and the creator of Andre the Giant, The Posse. Basically, he started off as just a graffiti artist. Most of us knew him as seeing him on the streets, the big stickers with that big face, and most of the clothing that we wear nowadays, because it's just been popular. In an interview with CBS, Shepard Fairey explained how pop art has influenced popular culture by saying, if you want to change what's going around you, you have to be willing to participate. Most of us don't understand that sometimes, because we don't know what we can do to make change, but in reality it just takes a simple thing, just as art, just making a simple picture. You just never know how much of an impact that can do to today's world. Most of us, all of us, should recognize this. It's the Obama campaign poster. One of the most famous posters that has been made, and also it came about quite ironically. This actually started out as just a stencil, just a stencil. He mass-produced it about a couple hundred times until it got more famous that it became the official Obama campaign poster. And in a letter from Obama to Shepard Fairey, I mean, Obama said this, so you don't mess with what Obama says. He said, the political message involved in your work have encouraged Americans to believe that they can help change the status quo. Your images have a profound effect on people, whether seen in a gallery or in a stop sign. So this relates back to how his street art first started off to now where this is what made an impact. And now we know, obviously, Obama's the president. Hope has changed a little bit in that sense, but this is one of his famous works. Not only does art have to deal with what occurring present time, but it actually might be influenced on what can occur in the future. And with this, I wanted to just talk about Andy Warhol, and I wanted to talk about his art mission to what he wanted to do. Andy Warhol, as you may know him, this is him. Pretty outspoken person, outgoing guy, elaborate person. He said, they always say time changes things. but actually you have to be able to change them yourself. This kind of relates to what Fairy said in the beginning about saying we have to change ourselves, and like I'm saying now, time not only makes the changes, but we have to make the changes ourselves. So we can change the way how we look, the way how we speak, the way music sounds, and that just becomes more of a pop culture and more of how pop culture is now these days. Most of you will know him as the creator of this photo, the Marilyn Monroe self-portrait. This is his most widely known work. This is what pop art is basically. The bright colors, the bright makeup, just overall the pop in it. That's what stands out the most. And with with the Andy Warhol Foundation, they have also spoken and said, in accordance with Andy Warhol's will, its mission is the advancement of visual arts. So visually, we want to change what people see. We want to see the change in people and the change in art. And this is what his mission statement has been and continues to be, and this is how and in his passing, this is how we as people should think of changing in ourselves. With this presentation, I've shown you how Andy Warhol and Shepard Fairey have not only influenced the pop culture, but have actually influenced pop art and influenced many different arts as well. It goes from politics to art to street to galleries to anywhere it can be. And with this, I just want to say maybe just a couple times when we pass an art piece, when we pass an art gallery, we just might want to go in and see what's actually in there, what the stories are behind it, and you just never know that one single piece can actually have had a bigger influence on its time, or it can be an influence in the future.
Scott, what did you think?
So, the central idea was to define pop art, pop culture, and how it relates to us. I think you did a good job at the beginning defining pop art and pop culture. You cited them well, and you also cite stuff throughout the speech pretty well. It kind of drops off towards the end, but the beginning is really good citation. Then it goes into the part about Shepard Fairey, and you give a lot of historical background on him, and so it gives us an idea about who he is, what he does, and I liked how that tied into the next part of the speech about Obama and his hope poster. I think that also your transitions were well defined, and it was easy to know when you were going to talk about the next point. One thing though is when you're talking about the Marilyn Monroe picture, and you kind of explain pop art again. I think that was a better definition of it than the dictionary definition or whatever you had at the beginning, because it was more relatable than just like reading a definition out of a dictionary. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good speech, very informative. Like the humor that you added, and you had pretty good delivery throughout, I think.
All right. Let me start with some of the things that I liked well, and then point out a few things that I think are problematic. I thought your thesis statement was pretty clearly stated at the beginning of the presentation. I thought that you had excellent definitions at the beginning of the presentation. You had the references that you used, the free dictionary, you even made a little joke about it. I like that. That was kind of effective. And I thought you had a good start on that sort of material. I also thought that you showed the visual materials appropriately You were in control of that, having somebody help you with that. That was perfectly fine. That makes it easy to make sure that you're showing things when you want them and you get them off stage when you don't need them. So that works pretty well. A few things that are a little problematic. Let me start with the attention device. It's another one of those survey things. I'm not sure that that helps you all that much. I think it would be better to go with the examples and your statement of opinion at the beginning rather than doing another one of those internal questions where people are being asked to think about something and maybe even respond to it. At least we're not getting a show of hands that's going on with that one. I think that you started off citing the material pretty well at the beginning of the speech with the definitions, but you were not as consistent about citing that material later on in the speech. Organizationally, it was a little bit confusing because it sounds like at one point it's going to be chronological. We're going to talk past, present, and future, and then I'm getting Shepard Fairey and Andy Warhol layered on top of that. And that actually turns out to be the main structure of the speech. So if that's the way it's going to be, I think maybe you would want to redo the purpose statement and say, I want to kind of define pop art through the experience or through the works of two of the most influential pop artists in the last few decades, and then identify them and make them the structure of the speech so that it actually fits together that way. I didn't really think that the Prezi format helps you all that much since you're not doing all that swooping in on those pictures. It seemed like that's probably unnecessary, they're shown at appropriate times. I thought that the two posters, the Marilyn Monroe and the Hope poster, are shown pretty effectively to illustrate that. What we need is some information about how those things were significant, different, how they did the things that Andy Warhol says pop art needs to do, or that when Shepard Fairey says you can't sit on the sidelines, you got to get involved. So what did he do that did those kinds of things? I think you kind of go backwards on that. You started telling us about Shepard Fairey and his Andre the Giant posters, and then we're getting how the Hope poster turned into a big deal, and then and then afterwards, we're looking at that and seeing how that might have influenced things, obviously, in the election. Seems like that's kind of looking at it backwards. What's the old saying? Hindsight's 20/20, and I think we're kind of getting a little bit of that. Just a technical thing. It's only a self-portrait of Marilyn painted it herself. So it is a portrait of Marilyn. It's not a self-portrait of Marilyn. If it was a portrait of Andy Warhol that he painted of himself, then it would be a self-portrait. Just one of those little things. It's like when people talk about the autobiography of Abraham Lincoln written by David McCullough, and you go, no, it's not an autobiography, that kind of thing. All right.
Yeah, Nicole, you're right.